Hey guys, welcome back to the Readers. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People Story. Imagine waking up to an HOA violation letter for rose bushes they crushed after moving your fence 8 feet into your yard. They swear it's HOA land and threaten $500 a day fines if you touch it. So when I pulled one document from my safe, why did their lawyer suddenly go quiet? I bought my house about 2 years ago. It's a corner lot in one of those cookie-cutter HOA neighborhoods where every mailbox looks the same and you're not allowed to park your car on the street overnight. I'm not much of a joiner, but the house itself was perfect for me. 3 bedrooms, nice kitchen, decent backyard. The location worked for my commute. I made an offer and went through the usual closing process. Here's the thing though, I'm careful about big purchases. Maybe overly careful. When I was buying the place, I insisted on getting a full professional survey done even though it cost me an extra $1,200. The title company said I didn't need it, that the lot lines were all on file with the county. I did it anyway. I also paid for the upgraded title insurance. My real estate agent thought I was being paranoid, but I've seen too many property disputes go sideways because someone assumed the records were accurate. The survey came back clean. What it did show, though, was something interesting. The previous owner had built the back fence about 3 feet inside the actual property line. According to the notes, they did it to avoid a couple of old oak trees whose roots would have been a problem right on the boundary. So technically, I owned a 3-foot strip of land on the outside of my fence, running along the community walking path that goes behind my house toward the neighborhood clubhouse. I didn't think much of it at the time. It was just dirt and grass. The walking path was narrow, maybe 4 feet wide, and it wound through the backyards of about 6 houses on my street before reaching the clubhouse. People used it to cut through instead of walking all the way around on the sidewalks. Fine by me. I put the survey documents in my fireproof safe and pretty much forgot about them. The HOA in this neighborhood is run by a board of 5 people, and the president is this woman who drives around in a golf cart like she's patrolling the Gaza Strip. It's not a normal golf cart either, it's one of those lifted ones with the big off-road tires and a custom paint job. She's got a little flag on the back and a clipboard in the front basket. I've seen her cruising around at all hours, writing down violations. Someone's trash can is out 4 hours past pickup time, that's a note. Your lawn is half an inch too long, that's a warning letter. She takes the whole thing very seriously. I'd only interacted with her a handful of times, once when I first moved in and she came by to introduce herself and give me a copy of the HOA rules, once when I got a warning for leaving my garage door open overnight, which I guess is against the rules because it looks untidy. She wasn't outright rude, but she had this energy like she was doing me a favor by even talking to me. I mostly stayed out of her way. About 6 months ago, I went out of town for a long weekend. Work trip, nothing exciting. I left on a Thursday morning and got back Sunday evening. When I pulled into my driveway, I noticed right away that something was off. The backyard looked different, smaller somehow. I walked around the side of the house and stopped dead. My entire back fence was gone. Well, not gone. Replaced. There was a new fence, but it was set way back into my yard, at least 5 feet closer to my house than the old one had been. The new fence was cheap looking too. Thin boards, wobbly posts, nothing like the solid privacy fence that had been there before. And my rose bushes, the ones I'd spent 2 summers nursing back to health along the old fence line, were completely trampled, just flattened into the dirt. I stood there for a minute trying to process what I was seeing. Then I walked around to the community path to see what had happened from that side. The path had been widened and paved. What used to be a narrow dirt and gravel trail was now a smooth concrete strip, maybe 8 feet wide, running right through where my fence used to be. It was wide enough for a vehicle, wide enough for a golf cart. I didn't yell, I didn't kick anything. I just walked straight to the clubhouse. The HOA president was sitting at one of the tables on the back patio with another board member, both of them with iced drinks and a binder open between them. When I walked up, she looked at me with this expression like I was interrupting something important. I asked her why my fence had been moved. She took a sip of her drink and said the board had voted to invoke an emergency easement for community beautification and accessibility. She said the old fence had been encroaching on HOA property anyway, and I should actually be grateful because the HOA had paid for the labor to move it to the correct location. I told her that wasn't true. I told her I had a survey and the fence had been on my property. She gave me this look like I was a child trying to argue about bedtime. She said the HOA had records going back 15 years and the walking path had always been HOA common area. She said if I had a problem with the new fence location, I was welcome to submit a formal complaint in writing, but the board's decision was final. Then she said if I tried to move the fence back, I'd be fined $500 per day for destroying HOA property. I didn't argue. I just left. The next morning, I got a letter in my mailbox. It was from the HOA on official stationery, addressed to me. It was an invoice for $3,500. The letter said that because my previous fence had been improperly located and the HOA had been forced to correct the violation, I was being billed for the cost of removal and reinstallation. They called it a mandatory lot compliance fee. The invoice had a due date 2 weeks out. There was a second page. It was a violation notice. It said my trampled rose bushes were now an eyesore and in violation of the neighborhood landscaping standards. I had 48 hours to remove the dead plants and restore the area to acceptable condition or I'd be fined. I sat at my kitchen table and read both pages twice, then I went to my safe and pulled out the survey. I called the surveying company that morning. I explained the situation and asked if they could come out and remark my property line. The guy on the phone said they could send someone out the next day. I paid extra for a rush job. The surveyors showed up Tuesday afternoon with a metal detector and a bunch of equipment. They spent about 2 hours walking my property line, finding the original iron pins that had been driven into the ground when the subdivision was first platted. Every time they found a pin, they marked it with a bright pink flag and sprayed a neon line on the ground. When they were done, the line was unmistakable. The new concrete path was completely on my property, not just touching it, fully on it, because the original fence had been set back 3 feet and the HOA had moved the new fence another 5 feet inward. They'd paved over 8 feet of my land. The surveyor handed me an updated report with all the measurements and photos. He told me I had a pretty clear-cut case if I wanted to take it further. I called a real estate attorney that afternoon, not just any attorney. I found one who had a reputation for going after HOA boards. I explained everything, sent him the survey documents and the HOA's invoice and violation notice. He said he'd have something ready by the end of the week. The demand letter arrived at the HOA office the following Monday. I didn't see it, but I heard about it fast enough. It was 8 pages long. It included a cease and desist, a formal demand for the immediate removal of the illegal pavement from my property, a requirement that they rebuild my fence on the actual boundary line at their expense, and a bill for $15,000 covering the destroyed original fence, the trampled rose bushes, the cost of the new survey, and my legal fees. The letter also noted that authorizing construction on private property without the owner's consent was trespassing and property damage, and if they didn't comply, I was prepared to file a lawsuit. I got a phone call from the HOA president 2 days later. She said the board wanted to meet with me to discuss the situation. I told her I'd be happy to attend with my attorney. The meeting was scheduled for the following Thursday evening at the clubhouse. I showed up with my lawyer. The entire 5-person board was there, plus the HOA's lawyer. The HOA president looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. My attorney laid out the situation very calmly. He showed them the survey. He showed them the original property pins. He explained that the county records clearly supported my claim and that the HOA had no documentation whatsoever showing an easement or any legal right to my land. He pointed out that they had not only trespassed, but they had destroyed my property and then had the nerve to bill me for it. The HOA president tried to argue. She said the survey had to be wrong. She said the previous owner had told her the fence was on the property line. My attorney asked her if she had that in writing. She didn't. The HOA's lawyer, who had been quiet up until that point, leaned over and whispered something to her. Her face went from red to white. The lawyer then addressed my attorney directly and said the board needed time to consult and review their options. My attorney said that was fine, but the clock was ticking on the demand letter. If they didn't respond with a plan to comply within 10 days, we'd be filing in court. We left. I didn't say a single word the entire meeting. I didn't need to. 6 days later, I got a call from the HOA's lawyer. He said the board had voted to accept full responsibility and comply with all my demands. They'd hire a contractor to remove the pavement, restore the strip of land, and build a new fence on the actual property line. They'd also pay the $15,000. I told him that was acceptable, but I wanted approval rights on the contractor and the fence design. He agreed. It took 3 weeks for the work to get done. They had to bring in a crew with jackhammers to rip up the concrete path. Then they had to haul out all the debris and bring in topsoil to level the ground. The fence they built was an 8-foot-tall privacy fence, solid wood, professionally installed. It cost them way more than the cheap one they'd thrown up before. Because the new fence was built on the true boundary line, the community walking path was reduced to almost nothing. What used to be a wide, paved golf cart road was now a narrow strip of dirt barely wide enough for one person to walk through. Definitely not wide enough for a golf cart. The HOA president tried to get the board to vote on building a new path somewhere else, but by that point the rest of the neighborhood had found out what happened. Apparently, the $15,000 had come out of a discretionary fund that was supposed to be used for neighborhood events and maintenance. That money was now gone and people were pissed. There was a recall petition and she was voted out at the next general meeting. The new board president sent me an apology letter. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I was sitting on my back patio a few weeks after everything was done, drinking my coffee and enjoying the extra space in my yard. I heard the distinct sound of a golf cart coming down the street. It slowed near the path entrance behind my fence. There was a pause, then I heard it go into reverse and drive away. I took another sip of my coffee. The new fence looked good. The next one is a malicious compliance story. I work in customer services for my council, and because of the policies in my job, I have to be the bad guy frequently as I have to say no to people. And frequently, people want to speak to my manager because of this. I always refuse to escalate because I don't engage with adult tantrums. Whether you speak to me or the CEO, it's going to be a no, so accept it now and move on with your day to avoid further frustration. I recently got a new manager, and a couple of weeks ago, someone complained about me for refusing to escalate the call, and he agreed with them and told me that in the future I should escalate the call if someone requests to speak to him. I explained to them that I don't escalate because it's pointless, as they'll also say no too, as it's a policy. I explained that speaking to someone just to repeat what has already been said is a waste of both their times, and that I don't want to contribute to this "I want a manager" view that people have, but he shut me down and told that whenever someone requests a manager, I must call him and see if he's free, and if he's not, I should email him their details and the issue, and he'd call them back that day. Cue malicious compliance. The second someone requested to speak to a manager, someone in authority, etc., I called him and asked him to take the call, and the first few times he took it, and then he suddenly became less free and started telling me to email him the details and he'll call back later. Later started to turn into the next day or later in the week. I battered him with the multiple escalations that I would have ordinarily refused over these past couple of weeks. As I was in the office, I could tell he was getting stressed because I could hear him on his escalation calls, and it was clear that he'd bitten off more than he could chew with dealing with these escalations, as the calls steered into them trying to get my no turned into a yes by speaking to him. He was getting flustered and telling people he'd speak to the managers in the other departments, and then he'd have to call them back to tell them that he's looked into it and it's a no, as I told them already on my call with them. In a complete U-turn, he emailed me today to tell me that I can go back to dealing with escalation requests the way I want to, and if someone raises a complaint, he'll back me up. He went from "you must escalate" to "please shield me" in the space of 2 weeks. The next one is an entitled people story. So I, now 18 gender fluid, forgot this happened, but this happened in 2024. Back in 2024, my big brother got married to his now wife. The wedding was chaotic and takes place over multiple days. Really, it takes place over years, but nobody wants to hear about that. The main part was that my mom got mad. My brother changed his mind about having the wedding at her old house and chose to have it 3 hours out. That's where the chaos started, and that was 3 or 4 years ago. I just want to warn everyone that this is a long post, so if you hate reading, look for another post to read. My mom was mad she couldn't take over the wedding. She made the process very difficult for my brother and sister-in-law. It started with the flowers. My mom wanted some sort of white flowers and a few roses. My brother and sister-in-law said they wanted an assortment of flowers. My mom tried to steamroll over my brother and sister-in-law. For once, my brother put his foot down, even with the constant insults my mom made towards them. My mom acted this way about the wedding dress shop, the cake, the dinner, how the wedding was set up, etc. Truly, it was exhausting, and it wasn't my wedding. Leading up to the wedding, my mom was very mean and made some nasty comments I won't repeat. So, fast forward to a few days before the wedding, my mom took me out of school early to get our nails done. Not getting into the details of that, but it was a very long and drawn-out process because of my mom's actions and her wants. We got to the nail salon and she made a few remarks at the color I got, which was a very light pink, almost white for both my fingers and my toes. She told me I was outshining the bride with my nail colors and almost refused to pay for my nails. She eventually paid for it, but left 17-year-old me stressed. Skipping over some random details from the rest of the day, it's nighttime. We're trying on our dresses again just to make sure they fit. My mom made a few fat-shaming jokes at me, but at the end of the day my dress fits, and that's all that matters. Funny enough, my mom's dress was a bit tight on her back and almost didn't zip up. She blamed for what reasons I don't know, nor do I care. Come the next day, I'm woken up to being rushed out the house. You're probably wondering why. Well, me and my mom, plus a few others, got volunteered to set up the wedding the day before. It's Saturday morning, the wedding is on a Sunday afternoon, almost 4 hours away. We got volunteered because my aunt and cousin who were supposed to do the flowers got COVID. So I hopped in the car with everything for the next few days, ready, including my dress. In the car, my mom insults me for ordering sugar from Starbucks, a frappuccino and a sandwich. I try to ignore her, but she got mad if I didn't respond. She also got mad if I didn't give her the response she wanted. So pretty much 4 hours of watching what I say or do. We get to the venue and do the flowers, but my mom feels the need to insult me for how I style the flowers. Keep in mind I was in a floral design class during that time. My cousins A, B, and C show up, this time almost on their best behavior, which consists of yelling 50% less fighting, 30% less, and being a public disruption for most of the day. We even had a worker tell my aunt and mom that my cousins were causing too much of a disruption for the event happening at that moment. Instead of my mom letting her sister handle her children, my mom scolded me for not stopping them. Keep in mind, Cousin A, who's the 2 younger kids, big brother, was there. My cousins were 15, 10, and 6. From my previous post, I talked about how much of a nightmare they were before and during my aunt's baby shower. It's not that shocking that they were a nightmare at a fancy place. I got yelled at for not controlling a 15-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 6-year-old. At this point, I'm on the verge of tears. I was hungry and only had Starbucks, then on top of that I got my mean mom who can't be nice to me even for a minute, and on top of all that I got my annoying cousins who can't stop being a nuisance for 5 minutes. Around this time it was probably 6 p.m. I can't recall since it's been almost 2 years now. I saw my brother and had a conversation with him and his soon-to-be wife. My now sister-in-law saw my hands and loved my nails, so that was a positive. Sadly, things can't be positive with my mom around. She started an argument with my brother the day before his wedding because he wasn't going to dinner with us. Reason for that, you're probably wondering, well, because of my aunt, on my dad's side, and her adult children, plus their partners and children were running late. My brother wanted one last big dinner with everybody as an unmarried man. My mom got mad at him for being selfish when in reality people were still flying in and just arriving. My brother told everybody dinner would be at 7:30, and if we need to go get snacks and eat since it may be a while. My mom didn't like that and insisted that we eat dinner at that exact moment. It got to a point where my brother told my mom and aunt go get dinner without him and we could meet up later, which once again my mom hated that response as well. If I could remember properly, I believe everyone that would be at the big dinner was going to be all my aunts on my mom's side, so Aunt A, B, and C. My aunt on my dad's side and her children and grandchildren. Therefore my aunt, her 2 daughters, and son, plus her 2 grandsons and her granddaughter. Then 2 of my uncles from my dad's side, all 5 of my older cousins that didn't get COVID from their mom, one of my brother's kind of friends. Then a few other family members. It was a big dinner with a lot of people expected to come, and my mom was mad because they didn't come at the time she wanted. Due to my mom forcing me to come with her, my aunt and her 3 kids, aka Aunt A, I got in the car with them. We went to dinner, and the whole way to the Cheesecake Factory, my mom talked down to me in front of my aunt and cousins. My cousins kept clowning me since it's funny to them watching an almost adult get chewed out by her mom for just exciting. I'm trying my best not to cry because my cousins are ruthless. So I put my AirPods in to tune out my cousins and my mom. We get to the Cheesecake Factory and it's pretty clear I'm trying not to cry. I went to the bathroom multiple times trying to pull myself together. While I'm doing that, trying to get just a tiny bit of alone time to wipe my own tears, there's a little rat that won't stop yapping that I'm forced to refer to as my mom. She got mad at me for not taking my cousin to the bathroom with me. Keep in mind her mom was there. Of all people, her mom should take her to the bathroom, especially since it's her kid and she's not busy. This detail is very important. My ears are really sensitive. If you touch my ear, I tend to flinch from pain and shock. I also often have an ear infection, so I don't like my ears being touched. My whole family knows this, including my cousins. Thing is, my cousins don't care about how they make other people feel, especially including the fact that they were mad I wasn't reacting to my mom and her constant yelling. I was overstimulated and very stressed out. I've been dealing with my mom's toxicity for the last few months leading up to the wedding. I've had to deal with the worst of it between Thursday to Saturday. So keep in mind I take full accountability for what I'm about to say happened. I also apologize to Cousin B for this. I had my AirPods in trying to calm down in a very crowded cheesecake factory. I'm not sure what my mom said to Cousin B, but she said something to encourage this behavior, but basically Cousin B ripped my AirPod out of my ear and he yelled in it. Keep in mind he's sitting next to me, so not only did it feel like he ripped multiple layers of skin out of my ear, but he yelled into my ear right after. So I yelled back at him. I don't remember what I said, but it was probably along the lines of, "Leave me alone." Then I started crying aggressively at the table in the middle of a busy cheesecake factory on a Saturday. The severe thankfully walked away and gave us some space. Instead of my mom taking accountability, she got mad at me for yelling at my cousin. She insisted I apologize to him right away. Keep in mind I'm sobbing in the corner of our table. It actually made my cousins be quiet for once and stop being such a nuisance. We ate dinner pretty quietly and my aunt bought me a cheesecake to go. When my cousins tried to interact with me in the car, my mom pretty much told them to leave me alone because I'm mentally unstable. Keep in mind I can only take so much. I've been putting up with my mom's hateful behavior and attitude for so long. Due to my mom being tired of my human emotions exciting, she told me she doesn't want my help when it came to setting up for the wedding. We had to go back to fix the dining hall and the courtyard since that was always our job from the start. My aunt came and talked to me to see what's going on. Even though me and my aunt aren't that close, she knows me well enough to know I don't snap at people for no reason, let alone my cousins. So I told her about my mom's behavior and all the stress she put me through and a few of her cruel comments. My aunt apologized for my mom's behavior and said a few kind things to me, then went back to helping set up. I got to eat cake by the pool and just recover from the chaos I went through. Keep in mind, this isn't my wedding, this is my brother and sister-in-law's wedding. Most of the stress my mom was dealing with was an overreaction. She wasn't told to do anything but set a few tables in the wedding hall. She volunteered for everything else. She even tracked down my aunt from my dad's side and her kids. Nobody asked her to do that, she chose to do it. So to anybody thinking she's just a tired mom who has a lot on her plate for her oldest child's wedding, just know she caused her own stress. My brother thanked my mom for everything, but incited she step back for a bit since most of this was covered. My mom hated being told she wasn't super needed in this process. Keep in mind, my sister-in-law's family was helping throughout the day as well. To sum it up, the wedding went well with a few minor issues. My mom acted entitled at random parts of the wedding. Other than that, the wedding was beautiful. I cried, I danced, and most of all, I finally have a big sister like I always wanted. My memory of the wedding will always be tainted still, especially since a chunk of the wedding day my mom did give me the silent treatment because my aunt told her what I said. Also, for those wondering, yes, my mom is in fact a toxic boy mom. My brother doesn't allow her to disrespect my sister-in-law, so that's good. The next one is an entitled parent story. I, F26, own my own part-time house cleaning and gardening business, which I started back in October last year to pay the bills and supplement my income, but depending on how successful this goes, I may make this my full-time job if it becomes successful. But anyway, I detract, so... On a Saturday a couple weeks ago, I was at one of my clients' houses who I'll call Booker, M51, as he kinda looks like that WWE wrestler Booker T. Before I go on, I should probably give some background. Booker is a family friend, owns his own business, successful, and spends his free time working on his car collection in his garage. So yeah, he's well off. He is also divorced and has a teenage daughter who I'll call Alice, won't disclose her age. To my knowledge, Booker gets Alice 3 days, and at his place, she has her own room and he apparently promised to buy her a car when she turns 19. However, Alice spends 4 days a week with her mom, who I'll just call Ms. C, don't know her age, and she has 2 other kids, Alice's half-siblings, and 2 stepdaughters, for lack of a better word, with her new boyfriend, Daryl. At Ms. C and Daryl's place, Alice has to share a room with her 2 step-siblings. She gets no privacy, and anything she has at her mom's place, she has to share with her step-sibling. Because of this, Alice generally keeps her nicer things, which her dad bought her, at her room in his place, which annoys Ms. C, who demands that Alice bring more of her things to her place so she can share them with the siblings. To paint a picture, the house Ms. C and Daryl live in a rented 3-bedroom house, while Booker owns a house with 4 bedrooms, one of which he converted into his music and gaming room, a home office, a pretty large garage, a basketball court, and a swimming pool. Anyway, so that Saturday, I was at Booker's house cleaning the kitchen and living room when the doorbell rang. Booker came down to answer it, and it was Ms. C with 4 of her kids, Alice's step-siblings and half-siblings. There was a lot of shouting right off the bat, but from what I could gather, Ms. C was saying that it wasn't fair that Alice gets her own room in Booker's mostly empty house and that they're, Booker and his daughter Alice, not sharing with the siblings. My understanding was that Ms. C brought her other kids to Booker's house because they wanted to use his pool and check out the stuff in Alice's room at his place. Ms. C also went on complaining about Booker buying a new laptop and a violin for Alice, as well as promising her a car for her 19th birthday, but not buying another for the other kids, with Ms. C screaming something like, "You out here buying tickets for Alice and her friends to see Taylor Swift, but not buying tickets for your other kids." Note, Alice and her friends went to see Taylor Swift's Eras Tour show in Santa Clara back in 2023, with Booker buying them the tickets and driving them to and from there. Booker then angrily responded, shouting back, "What do you mean, my kids? I only have 1 kid, Alice." Ms. C tried arguing that since Alice is Booker's daughter, by extension, Alice's half-siblings and Daryl's kids are also kinda like his kids as well, since according to Ms. C, that's how their blended family works. Booker then shot back saying, "Well then where the is Daryl? Why isn't he providing for your kids, his kids?" Reminding Ms. C that Alice is his only kid and legally, he's only responsible for Alice. Alice, who I didn't realize also came down, then jumped in telling her mom that she comes over to her dad's place to have her own space and do her own thing, as well as Alice telling her mom, "You know when I turn 18 I'm moving in with Dad, right?" And then she mentioned something about Ms. C apparently having an affair, cheating on her dad at some point. This, of course, upset Ms. C, and Ms. C tried to hit Alice, but Booker got in the way and pushed her back. Ms. C then just told her other kids that she was going out for a while and that they should just go inside Booker's house and play, to which Ms. C and Daryl's kids just ran past them going to the pool in Alice's room. Ms. C then just ran back to her minivan and drove off. Booker then gave me an extra $200 cash to help him make sure Ms. C's other kids don't damage or steal anything. So I had to stop what I was doing to mind the kids, while Booker first tried calling Ms. C to get her to come back for her kids, but she apparently just laughed him off, while also pretending not to hear him, so he called the police instead. The police showed up, Booker and I gave a statement of what happened. Booker pointed out that he could give them security camera footage if needed, and officers left with Ms. C's kids. After the cops left, Booker told me I could just call it a day, and he'll still pay me for the day, so I left. Just how messed up this was kinda weighing on my mind, so figured I may as well just share it as I do need to write about this. Note: Booker did mention this wasn't the first time she did something like this, as apparently a couple years ago, when Daryl lost his job in 2020 due to COVID, Ms. C tried to get Daryl to give him a job at his business, but he refused. Sometime after that, Ms. C also tried to get Booker to lend Daryl one of his cars, specifically the Dodge Challenger, after Daryl's car broke down, with Ms. C saying that families should help each other. To which Booker basically told her to duck off, as Daryl is not his family. Anyway, thank you for watching.